The self-isolation stockpot. What's stewing?
What's that smell, Daddy?
What's that smell? I don't know.
So that question you asked there, that's a multi-dimensional question. There's levels to that.
That's a great question.
Yeah, no, I want to answer that question because it's challenging. It's forced me to think.
Yeah, I think
I've kind of almost been waiting for this to happen secretly.
People's diet most definitely needs to change, because if it's true that the virus transferred from dietary habits of certain people, that most definitely needs to change. And I think that is part of the revolution that's taking place. A lot of people turning vegan all of a sudden over the last 5 years. Record amounts of people turning vegan. We need to be more compassionate with each other. We need to be more caring for each other.
Well, obviously this has come about because of us abusing the planet. It's nothing more than that, I don't think.
Everything needs to change in the world, everything. I'm torn with what's going on, because I think the positive side of it is that we're all going back to basics. We're just taking a step, pausing. I think the world has become so desensitised, so fast. Everyone wants everything now. You know, and I think it's important for us just to go back to the bare basics. Spend more time at home. You know, cook more. Think about what we're spending our time on, spending our money on, who we're spending it with. Not materialistic. We've all become so materialistic.
The speed of things. We really enjoy the slowness. We've been talking about it this week.
The solidarity sort of aspect, the fact that you can kind of see it now in a time of crisis, but normally in the everyday it's very scarce and it's almost frowned upon sometimes. So I'd like to see that being a kind of a norm in the future.
Well, isn't it interesting how this is kind of basically what Extinction Rebellion have been asking for? I'm not part of it or anything, but just observing it. Seeing what they've been asking for over the last few years, a reduction in consumption amongst humans, flying less, eating less meat, doing more exercise. No one really listened, but now it's really affected the decision makers because it's been a threat to human life. It's completely changed a lot of the way people go about things, and it's definitely improved the environment. So that's one saving grace to take from this.
I think we all need to not get so bogged down in the rat race, and I think we all need to be nicer to people and grateful for people who do things for us, like healthcare and all the sorts of things that we probably take for granted normally.
I think the government needs to look after people more rather than big companies, and I think maybe people might get to realise that, I think sooner than later, that the government needs to change.
What needs to change? I think the opposite of fear. I need a bit of love. I know it's hard to look at love in a time like this, but I'm sure we all have enough resources and things worldwide to help each other out, to make this all blow over much quicker. And there's a lot of knowledge out there that could be spread that probably isn't being, that could help people. And a lot of false knowledge that's helping people die quicker, which needs to stop. So I guess what we need right now, is a bit of love, universally.
I just think that people need to be a lot more careful with sort of how they treat the world and how they treat like things that we do here, because obviously we take it for granted what we have, and because of like global warming and things like that, everything could go so quickly and we don't have a lot of time to reverse what we've done. So I think you just need to be more aware of like the things that you do and how you sort of treat the planet and things like that.
I think the insecurity of our economy and how people are treated, I think needs to change. I think, and the planet, it's all very like 100 miles an hour, and then suddenly when it stops, everything seems to kind of fall apart and everyone's at risk. So I think, the slowing down and being, not necessarily having more security, because I think that's a part of the fear that everyone has, which kind of keeps the system going, but maybe just being more sensible with our resources and just life in general.
The government needs to listen to people's needs more. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not against the government in totality, but they're only humans and we have to see them as humans. I think what Boris has done in regards to the isolation, I think it's an absolutely fantastic way of doing things, but it can only work if everybody does it. Unfortunately, we're always going to find people who think they know better and they're not going to follow suit.
Well, I'd like the economy to be based on things that are a bit more resilient and a bit less superficial, but I'm sort of doubtful that will happen.
We need to take notice of some of the lessons that we're learning at the moment. Take a look at, I think this is giving us a chance to look at the impact of our normal behaviour. So, yeah, give us a lot to think about and start afresh.
I mean, down with capitalism. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think we need to think about how we can sort of reorder society in a way that looks after people a lot better, because I think this crisis has shown that, like, as soon as things start to go a bit wrong, then a lot of people get hit really hard. You know, we need to think about ways that we can...
And the government's first priority was bailing out a bunch of airlines.
Yeah.
And, you know, now look at what's happening. They're having to call on volunteers to help the NHS.
Yeah, I think we need to create more safety nets for people, because I just don't think we're there at the moment.
Yeah, probably the government's attitude towards social care. You know, it's been really encouraging seeing the measures that they're now putting in place financially, fiscally, forced by this coronavirus outbreak, but it'd be nice to see some of that care for people within need more often outside of this crisis.
You know, people started to almost worship money and all the what's the word?
Just being consumerism.
Yeah, just the consumerism side of things. I think this is important for us just to all just be a bit more holistic, a bit more sustainable, just to sort of slow down and take heed.
Society has to be a bit more prepared for events like this and be less selfish. You see that with all the panic buying and stuff, it's completely ridiculous, because people that can't shop, like elderly people, can't get anything there. So I think society needs to be a bit less obsessed with money, I think.
If we could take anything from this, it would be flying less. That would be a very direct societal change, but obviously there would be more nuanced ones, which we're yet to find out. But you know, if we could react in the same way to climate change and the threat that poses to us as we could to the new coronavirus, that'd be great. But obviously there's a very direct causal relationship between a virus and the death it causes, which means it's very easy to do what we're doing, because we know if we do this it will stop death. But with climate change, that relationship becomes more disparate, so it becomes more difficult for humans to do it.
Well, I think the world has now reflected on what we are doing to it. I mean, I think that's already starting with global warming and everything else, but it does show that, I mean, if you're a spiritual person, it means that maybe someone's unhappy with us, and this is a way of showing us what we're doing. But I think it does mean that we need to be together, work together, just making this place better than it is. I think we've all, I don't know, separated out a bit too much. It's becoming very much a me society, and maybe this is bringing us all back together to show us actually we need to work together.
Sort of like take stock and just relax more, and not get so et up, you know, and also just cut down on the amount of travelling, really, I suppose.
Caring for the vulnerable, because whether you're vulnerable through health or vulnerable through poverty or all these other what might have been perceived to be left-wing ideas, I think that should change. Universal credit, you know, they're bailing out employees, maybe they should also bail out some of the people on income support or universal credit and give them some more money.
Oh my goodness, so I was watching a very interesting scientist last night. It was a bit depressing but kind of quite eye-opening. So I can't remember his name, but he was basically saying the way forward is to create a sunshade over the sun to stop global warming, to rally around artificial intelligence, to basically say that we as dominant human species are done and we need to hand it over to AI. It was quite mind-blowing and slightly sort of existentially strange.
Well, I mean, I think it's very interesting that people are seeing this as a kind of apolitical crisis, when I think it's incredibly politically motivated and driven. I think a lot of people need to be held accountable for past decisions that has made this crisis so much worse. So, you know, seeing, I mean, it was only a couple of months ago that we were seeing supermarket workers and NHS workers as low-skilled people, and actually they are the people that are completely keeping us going and driving this forward.
Well, we need to be a bit cleaner. Need to wash our hands more. Probably need to panic a bit less. I think the main symptoms of this virus seem to be fear and panic. To me personally,
a lot of things need to be changed. A lot of things need to be changed. A lot of things have to be changed. Civilized has to be changed. People have to invest more things of creating stuff, less of creating weapons. Hopefully we can make it and we come out of it as soon as possible.
Less work.
Yeah.
Like people haven't got enough work to do. Like lots of organisations I think are trying to find work to do. So a 4-day week.
Yeah. Less like speed and planes.
Yeah. Less cars.
Yeah.
What else is there?
I guess just like less rushing around.
Yeah, more appreciation of the things people can do locally, like local shops, local networks that you have. Yeah, there'll be, I think, that should be built upon. So you're not so reliant on big organisations, it's more organic community groups.
It'd be nice if, I mean ultimately, like if wealth was a bit more evenly distributed, I suppose, and resources, which I'd be all for, just like a fairer society generally. I think this has really sort of posed some massive questions for, I don't know, like capitalism or like the system that we all kind of live in. Yeah.
For the welfare state, we need to, either the Tory government needs to put their arse in gear, or we need to get the Labour government back in. It's like after World War II, after all of that trauma and death, the welfare state was at its strongest point because they understood that to have a strong country, you need to help everyone, not just the people at the top.
Oh, I think it's going to bring about a lot of changes. The way people work, money, whether money should be the capital, the currency, maybe it should be something else. I'm a bit of a hippie. It should be sort of love and togetherness, volunteering. You know, I love volunteering, but lots of people think, okay, if you volunteer, you're kind of doing the government's job for them. But yeah, the government needs to step up, but we all need to step up, really. So I think people face a lot of new things about themselves and their day-to-day, that they'll learn things and they won't want to go back to what is a really capitalist world. And I know that sounds like banging on about it, but a real thing of class systems and everything. Some people are going to suffer more than others, and the people that have the least, even in a thing like this, which is a global crisis, the people that have the least health, the least amount of money, all of that, they're the ones that are going to suffer the most. So it's about looking at that, really, making hopefully a more equal society at the end of it.
Because there are no planes in the sky and everything, it's quite strange how things have slowed down to a point where I keep getting flashbacks to my childhood in the 1970s because of the general vibe of things. So actually, I mean, it sounds it's a complete cliche, but things slowing down I think would be really good. And people just looking out for each other a bit more, which they really are doing.
I think a lot of travel, and I think how we're not just using it like we're using it a bit too freely. I think that needs to be cut down, because just for essential travel is good and like for a couple of holidays, but I think people just using it a bit too much for like kind of commercial use, that really has shown how much you can just cut down if you want to.
I think people depending on the NHS, people kind of like privatising the NHS and all kind of political stuff towards the NHS, everyone kind of has had a negative kind of view on the NHS, and this really shows how much we actually do, how much we rely on it. And I think people need to see how valuable it actually is, and that people are finally seeing that, and I think that needs to continue afterwards.
Bit more compassion to one another. I think some people have kind of shown their dark side. Their maybe not their dark side, but like their panic. Like, you know, people buying a load of stuff. Impulsive. Yeah, impulsive side. But I think we'll come out of it the other side a lot more understanding of each other.
Need to take things like climate change seriously, like sustainability, especially all the pressure we're seeing like for shopping and food supply and stuff like that. So it feels like a bit of a wake-up call, which is a positive, I guess.
You could get a bit deep about ethics and people's behaviour, but there's been a lot of selfishness which has been quite apparent. There's been some lovely things, like the applause on Thursday evening was great, but then those are probably the same people that were stripping the shelves dry of all goods and toilet roll and all of that. So it has highlighted a lot of selfishness, which it would be lovely if that could change, but that's probably asking too much, isn't it?
Oh, the relationship between landlords and tenants. And how unstable that is, and how actually, well, my friend was saying that if it's an investment, if buying property is an investment, then you should be able to sort of not give into the return of that investment like any other business. But in the case of landlords, you get kicked out. I know that's not the case here really, but it just made me think about paying rent for but you're basically just held hostage. You're not paying for anything.
I still think it's our environment. The climate crisis, I think it's
Well, that's taking a back seat.
Yeah.
Right. For the next couple of weeks.
And then inequality, because it's still, so unfair. That it's gonna be poor people losing once again. Yeah.
The level of panic and fear probably needs to change. People. That's a really hard question. What needs to change in the world?
I think, oh gosh, it's a massive question. A lot needs to change in the world. I think we need to work together more, we need to be together more, but not in meaningless ways, just to make the time that we have with each other count.
I think everything from, the people who are in, the leaders. I think they've been kind of oppressing the ordinary people with all sorts of things over the years, and I think as humans as well, we've been ruining the earth as well. So, we need to change our behaviours.
Hopefully, this will be almost a kind of post-war socialist takeover, really, where hopefully there will be more of a sense of care to those who need it, and recognition for those that keep things going.
It's been about a week and a half now. It keeps a good distance from the people around me. I'm able to see who's coming, and when they come I just freeze, and then they don't know that I'm real and they walk straight past. So yeah, it's been a while.
I have a theory that we need absolutely everyone in the whole world. We really do. There are bad people and good people. And they all have a role somehow. It's just that we don't know what to do with the ones who are really unpleasant. But one day we should work it out a bit.